Shazam: The New Beginning, issue 4. Roy Thomas and Dan Thomas, with Tom Mandrake on the art. Rounded out this miniseries. We have our ending. It's pretty much a natural ending that you'd expect from this, where he gets to beat Black Adam, and Savannah goes on the run from the authorities and everyone, wanted for everything that he's done, obviously. And Uncle Dudley kind of coming to the rescue, essentially.
Yeah. It's actually a very straightforward issue, and just setting up where they wanted Captain Marvel to be by the end of it for, post-crisis.
I mean, yeah, it actually says at the end that it's just, Shazam's kind of at this place in Invasion, or not Invasion, Legends is what the event was that was going on, the miniseries. Because it did loosely say that this was a tie-in to Legends, but obviously it doesn't. It's completely standalone. It just happens to be that Captain Marvel in this series, find out how he got to this stage.
Yeah.
But from the sounds of it, though, it sounds like he was still like, this fresh new version that was inexperienced in Legends.
That does seem to be the implication. Yeah, that they say it occurs immediately after this miniseries. So
yeah. Dudley shows up and throws a book at Savannah's head, and basically Billy gets the distinct pleasure because Dudley's in a bit of trouble, and Billy basically realizes to get out of this machine to stop him from going to the other. To save Dudley, but B, to also stop from going to this other dimension. Is all he has to do to get out of the machine is to actually become a kid again.
Like, and the handcuffs are suddenly too small, too big for his arms.
Exactly. So there is kind of a satisfaction when he turns back into Captain Marvel in front of Savannah and lets Savannah see that this is him. It's him that's causing all these problems for him. But because at one point Savannah even tries to recruit Captain Marvel. He's like, hey, if you side with me and promise to always work for me and take on Black Adam so that I don't have to be his slave, we could be in business together. And obviously Shazam's like, that, piss off.
Yeah.
It's basically the gist of it. But
and then Shazam saves the plane. He goes and it's in like an underwater cave.
Yeah, there's a lot of action here. There's a lot of him and Black Adam fighting, causing waves as they collide midair.
Yeah, and again, it's where the art is at its strongest in this series, where it's all these just straight square panels for most of the issue, and then as soon as it comes to the action, it's all off at angles. It's got a flow to it.
Yeah, it makes it feel a bit more special. Basically, Billy or Shazam turns back into Billy when they fly back to the house mid-fight and tricks Black Adam into hitting the lever behind him. It's a little contrived, it's a little like, he happens to just hit the lever that's going to turn on the machine and take him to the other dimension. It's a little bit. Afterwards, they destroy the machine. Billy obviously flies to the plane and brings it out, and again, all very nice in the art. I mean, it's not really that detailed a panel. It's quite a small panel, relatively speaking, for what it is. This could have easily been a 2-page spread of the plane lifting out of the water.
I suspect nowadays this would be a 6-issue miniseries easily, and you would have a double-page splash for that.
Yeah, and I wouldn't complain about that, because this feels like that feels like the sort of visual that should sell your Shazam, origin. Like, hey, he's lifting a plane full of, kidnapped victims.
I guess in context here, lifting the plane isn't a big feat of strength. It's not a big deal. Finding the plane was the challenge.
Yeah. Still though, triumphant moment, and they could do more with it. But bizarrely, Billy gets a job at the TV station he went to briefly.
After we complained about it, I think it was last issue, where it felt really weird and jarring. And
oh no, it was issue 2. It wasn't the last issue.
Issue 2,
yeah.
Okay. I guess it's set up for this, but yeah, it still feels weird. I wonder if this is where he is in the Legends series, and there's stuff of that in there, and maybe if you were already reading Legends, this kind of felt more natural, because it was like, hey, look, this is how he got to there.
Well, it definitely is, because it ties into the Godfrey stuff. Yeah, because I mean, we actually saw some of that in one of the Bat books, because this happens to be running alongside it. So clearly, Godfrey's whole thing with Legends is the stuff that's tying it in remotely. So maybe the whole TV station stuff is the one thing that was shoehorned in to tie it into what was going on elsewhere.
Obviously, we felt it in issue 2, whatever that was. I don't think it's bad here. It's actually okay here.
It's because it's the ending. It's because it's like an epilogue. This is where he is now.
Yeah, so it works fine here. And ultimately, if that's the one tie-in symptom, that I mean, it's better than a lot of modern books when it comes to tie-ins.
Yeah, because I had a moment when I got to Godfrey, I was like, wait a minute, I feel like we've seen him recently, and then I realised what it was. Oh, that was also a Legends tie-in, that's why.
Yeah.
Interesting. They also tease Savannah and Mr. Mind. Even, I mean, it's not really Mr. Mind, but it's kind of pointing at it. It's like, definitely like a visual cue of saying, hey, this is where this is going to go, in some capacity. So, yeah, it plays with some familiar beats, and Black Adam's not dead or anything like that. He's just back in his bottle, essentially, back in his own dimension.
It's a pretty straightforward issue. It's probably the most straightforward of all the issues. It's one of the better paced ones, though, I would say, because it is just straight through and then an epilogue. It's not like trying to fit in like 3 different plots at once.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's probably the least interesting issue because like nothing about it's that surprising. It's just kind of straight, but the fighting is good. I don't know if it's as good as the first fight that Black Adam Shazam had, though. I feel like that first fight was really good.
I agree. I think that was a bit better. It was more of a showcase, right?
Yeah,
but this is still really solid.
Yeah, so that's the end of the miniseries. It is worth mentioning the trade. If you're reading through the trade version, does have a couple of other stories. A 2-part story that was in Action Comics Weekly at one point by the same writers about Captain Marvel. Which we didn't read, but I was just pointing out. It's there.
Yeah, I was reading the singles.
Yeah. It's there if people want to read that. Obviously, it's a bit because this is only a 100-page story, so they put this in as an extra in the trade to beef it up a little bit. Get up to that 140-ish sweet spot. That
it's one of the rare things I will compliment Marvel on, especially in the last 5-10 years or whatever it's been. They're quite happy to put out shorter trades of 4 issues and just charge less for them. Whereas DC feel an obligation to put in other random stuff to to make it up to the standard length.
I mean, I agree that is an issue. I don't think it's a problem here because it's like a 2-part story by the same writers who wrote this one. And
sure, I just mean in general, while we're on it.
Yeah, because where else is it ever going to go? So yeah, I mean it's fine. It's a perfect kind of bonus for this, but. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the miniseries. It definitely had a lot. It feels of its era. It feels of its time in the late 80s, but it's not.
It was pretty good though. It's pretty solid. It didn't have much to surprise us. It was pretty much the origin we expected. A couple of little bits that are different, but it's impressive just how much his origin has more or less stayed the same over the years.
Yeah, I think this holds up as a very readable story. It does take a little bit longer to read, maybe a little bit more wordy than you're used to with a modern comic, but
it's not too bad.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. How are we giving this issue?
I'm going to give it just a straight 7. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I'll agree with a 7. There you go.